quest. Permit me to pass the ultimate test.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. And welcome once again as we bring to you Ask Huda. I'm your host, Fuad Muhammad. We also have the privilege of hosting our dear and beloved Dr. Muhammad Salah. Assalamu alaikum, Doctor.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Just a quick reminder of our telephone numbers, 00-202-38555-248 or 249, or you can send us an email at ask@huda.tv. We'll prefer you to call at the very beginning of today's show. Doctor, we start with Sister Noura from Sudan, and she said the hadith that states about eating 7 dates from Medina repels evil spells.
Yeah. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. والعاقبة للمتقين ولا عدوان إلا على الظالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأولين والآخرين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين ثم أما بعد. Praise be to Allah alone. We praise Him and we seek His help. Whomsoever Allah guides is the truly guided one, and whomsoever Allah leaves astray, no one can show him guidance. May the best peace and blessings be upon Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Yes, indeed, there are various ahadith which address the same subject, that there is a specific type of dates that grows in Al-Madinah, the city of the Prophet ﷺ. It is called ajwa. In those ahadith, the Prophet ﷺ said that whoever eats 7 of them early morning, before eating or drinking anything, that will provide him with protection against sorcery and poison for the entire day. So, just take for example one hadith which is collected by Imam Bukhari and narrated by Amir ibn Sa'd from his father. He said that the Prophet ﷺ said, مَنِ اصْطَبَحَ كُلَّ يَوْمٍ تَمَرَاتِ عَجْوَةٍ لَمْ يَضُرُّهُ سُمٌّ وَلَا سِحْرٌ فِي ذَلِكَ الْيَوْمِ إِلَى اللَّيْلِ. So the hadith says, if you eat in the morning 7 dates of ajwa, specific type of dates, and by the way, this is the dates which the Prophet ﷺ planted its fasa'il, its baby date palm trees by his own hands. So the blessings and the barakah is extended from the Prophet ﷺ to the dates, to the person who would eat them in the morning. Shall be protected against sihr or sum. Sum is poison, and a sihr is sorcery or magic, black or any kind of magic, for the day until the night. وَذَلِكَ كُلُّ يَوْمٍ. If you do that on every single day, you'll be protected. In another hadith, it is specified the area in which those date palm trees have been planted, Al-Awali, Ra'aliya, a specific area in Al-Madinah. In another hadith, of any dates of Al-Madinah, to the extent that some scholars said the virtue of eating the dates can be extended to any type of dates, whether from Medina or other than Al-Madinah, whether ajwa or otherwise. But the specific narrations are concerning tamru ajwat al-Madinah. Wallahu a'lam.
Okay, we have a brother Muhammad from Sierra Leone. Assalamu alaikum, brother. You're live on Ask Huda. Your questions, please.
E-O-N-E.
Brother Muhammad, are you with us?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead with your question, brother.
Yes, the question I have is concerning an interest at the bank, because with the banks we have here, they are non-Islamic.
Okay.
So the money I collected out of the interest, how can I dispose of it?
Okay. Jazakallah khair, brother Muhammad there. Sister Mariam from the USA, she wants to know that she has a 2-year-old daughter, and whenever she's praying her salah, the little baby comes and she plays in front of her. She wants to know if this invalidates her prayer.
It will not invalidate the prayer, but it will reduce her reward. Why? Because the Prophet ﷺ ordered the one who is about to pray to make sure that he would take a sutra, a barrier, or an object in front of him, in order to make him acquire the greatest level of khushu'. فَلْيُصَلِّ إِلَى سُتْرَةٍ وَلْيَدْنُ مِنْهَا. And make sure that the sutra is close to the place of placing his forehead on the floor for sujood. So the sutra would not be 3 yards away from me, but enough to cover my praying area. Why? Because if somebody sees me praying, I'm talking about adults now, and sees a sutra in front of me, he would recognize that I cannot cross before you because of the great sin of crossing before the musalli. But if there is no sutra, how do I know that you're praying? And others will be confused as far as the distance from which that I will not be allowed to cross before the musalli. Like those who pray the fard, then they come to pray the sunnah right by the door of the masjid. They block everybody from leaving. Why? Because they did not put sutra, and they are on the pathway of people. Then the sin is laid upon them. So the one who does not place a sutra while he's praying in an open area, and if somebody crosses before him, the blame is on the musalli, the person who did not put the sutra. Now, having a child 2 years old playing around, that you should put a sutra, and you should make sure that the child in a place that he would not confuse you during the prayer. Whether it's an adult or a child, now you are the one who's responsible, and you still have to resist him crossing before you, whether it's a boy or a girl. I want to ask if somebody, if a mother at home was having many babies and she has to use the bathroom, would she take them with her to the bathroom or to the shower? Obviously not. She put them in a stroller, in a seat, confine them to the seat, or fasten a seat belt on them, so that she would answer the nature or do important issues with comfort. Likewise, whenever it is a prayer time, make sure that they're confined someplace so that they would not disturb you in prayer. We say al-khushu' is a very important pillar of the salah, and it determines how much of your prayer will be accepted. Accordingly, one has to make certain that he or she will have the proper environment of praying. That would include turning your cell phone off, not on a vibrate or silent. Turn it off completely. Put the sutra in front of you. Turn the CD player, the DVD player, the TV set, the radio off. I don't want any form of disturbance while I'm praying.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. We have Brother Khurshid from the UAE. Assalamu alaikum, brother. You're live and ask their questions, please.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Brother Khurshid.
Yeah, Sheikh Salah, I'm having two questions.
Okay.
First of all, that when we are praying in the mosque behind the imam, we have, for example, in Fajr or in Maghrib or in Isha, so we have to read this Alham Sharif?
Okay.
Or not? Because some people say that if you don't read Alham Sharif, your namaz, your salah is not completed.
Okay.
Okay.
Second question is, I am from India. I follow Hazrat Abu Hanifa. But since the last 25 years I'm here, so my family is totally on Sunnah and this Hadith. And people say that you have to follow one, because when you will die at the day of judgment, you will be behind your Imam. Is this true?
And if you are behind Imam al-Shafi'i, it would not be okay?
No, just I'm asking. I have to read Alham Sharif after Imam?
I'm suggesting an answer so that whenever somebody says that to you, you ask this question. Okay? You say, what about those who are praying or following any other Imam? They will not enter heaven? And inshallah, I will answer your questions right now.
No, not enter in the heaven. They are saying that you have to, at the day of judgment, you have to follow your Imam. If you are following Abu Hanifa, so you will be behind Abu Hanifa.
Okay, Brother Khurshid, we got it, inshallah. Next we have Brother Abda from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum, brother. You're live and ask.
Assalamu alaikum, brother. How are you?
Wa alaikum assalam.
Alhamdulillah.
Yeah, Abu Muhammad Ali is my name. I'm very grateful for this great channel which enlightens the Ummah of the whole Muslim in this world.
Jazakallahu khairan.
You have a question?
My question is on polygyny.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Please, what is the ruling of if you have a wife, your first wife,
okay,
who she always criticizes the second wife, which if you want to advise her, this is not the way of Allah.
Okay.
The best way is try to
put
everything into what Allah has put it for test for us.
Okay.
So you already have two?
Yeah, I have.
May Allah help you.
Ameen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ameen. That's brother.
But the problem I have in always, one wants to talk about the other one when she says So I always intervene and say, please, kindly try to remember what Allah has
Okay.
asked us to do in this kind of deen.
Okay, inshallah. We'll try to deal with that question, Brother Abda there from Nigeria. And the second question Sister Mariam had is, she says, can women cut their hair without a good reason?
As long as it does not resemble men, and she's not following a specific style that's maintained by non-Muslim women, then it is permissible to cut it, but not too short that would resemble men. Cutting the hair or shortening the hair for a woman is permissible. It is very important to understand that the long hair for a woman is a source of beauty and mean of natural adornment. And that's why while men and women are performing Hajj, men are recommended to shave, and the least is to trim. Women are only allowed to cut as much as a fingertip from the end of the hair, not from all over the head. Because the hair for a woman is the main source of her beauty.
Okay, and Sister Zahra says that her sister passed away and left 4 children, and she wants to know if they're counted as orphans, or orphans are only whose father has died.
An orphan in Islam is one who lost either the father or both parents while he or she were under the puberty age. So, when somebody lost a father before he was born, he's an orphan. When she was 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, before the puberty age, is an orphan. But it is very weird to meet somebody who's 32 years old, 35 years old, and says, I'm an orphan. No, you're not an orphan, you're a dad by then. So an orphan is somebody who lost either a father or both parents while under the puberty age. Now, she's asking that my sister passed away and she left several kids. Well, Islam does not only ask us to assist and help the orphans and everybody who's in need. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised the believers who recognize that in their wealth there is a known portion that is the due of the poor, the needy ones. And the ayah number 60 of Surah Al-Tawbah, which explains how to distribute the mandatory alms, mention 8 categories. So it is not limited to one. It is true that the Prophet ﷺ said the person who sponsors or looks after or takes care of an orphan will be with me in heaven like these 2 fingers so close. But this is to encourage people to look after orphans most. But in your case, if they're poor, if they lost their mother, so their help will be rewarded greatly by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially that they are your nephews and nieces. Because the Prophet ﷺ once was asked about giving any charity to one's relatives. He said, in this case, you will get double reward, the reward of the charity and the reward of upholding the ties of your kinship. Wallahu a'lam.
We have Sister Sarah from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum, Sister. You're live and Ask Huda. Your questions, please.
Wa alaikum salam. Good evening, Sheikh. You just answered a question now about the child crossing in front of its mother praying. I was wondering, because I have a similar problem, I put the sutra actually, so my kids come running and playing like that, and they cross over. So does that really reduce my reward? Because I heard a hadith where the grandchildren of the Prophet ﷺ crossed over and they were on his back while in sujood position. So I was wondering. Thank you. Jazakallah khair.
Okay.
Wajazakum, Sister Sarah. Let me correct one thing. The hadith did not say that the grandchildren of the Prophet ﷺ crossed over and they were on his back. They only mentioned that they were on his back, and I stated that in the previous episode, but not crossing before him. The Prophet ﷺ once had a behema, a cattle. It could be an animal, any kind of animal. He was praying and he was having a wool in front of him. So it came to cross before him. He tried to resist, but it insisted. So he went all the way until he adhered himself to the wool, against the wool, not to allow even an animal to cross before him while in the prayer. So yes, kids, if they happen to play around and they ride on the back, all of that is, it may happen. But to cross before the musalli, that is restricted. there is no specification that's only concerning adults or children. And as I said, you just said that it happens with you a lot. They disturb you in the prayer. So what is the purpose of the prayer then? If I enter the prayer and I lose it, I suggested that most of mothers have strollers. Put the baby in the stroller or in the high seat, buckle him up until you pray. The prayer would be only 5 minutes, 10 minutes at maximum if you're praying along with the nawafil, until they realize the importance of the prayer. A little bit by little bit, they will line up next to you and they will copy you and emulate you in the prayer, and they will not disturb you. But it is not permissible to leave the child to cross back and forth in front of you. You still have to educate the child, alert him, or even resist him or her crossing before you.
Okay, we have Sister Hala from Egypt. Assalamu alaikum, sister. You're live and ask her their questions, please.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I want to ask if I know someone, and he said that he heard the hadith about the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam, that when he needed to take a decision, or a quick decision, he has this coin, and he threw the coin, and wherever the coin comes on one of the sides,
Okay.
so that decides on behalf of him.
Oh, you said that the Prophet had a coin?
Yeah, it's like a coin,
Okay.
and he decides.
Okay, the person who told you that is either one of two. It doesn't have a third choice. Is either ignorant or a liar. Because the Prophet ﷺ never flipped the coin. Rather, he came to demolish these false practices. So if I say he or she is an ignorant or illiterate, that's much easier because they don't know. But the problem is the Prophet ﷺ said in a sound hadith, مَنْ كَذَبَ عَلَيَّ مُتَعَمِّدًا فَلْيَتَبَوَّأْ مَقْعَدَهُ مِنَ النَّارِ. So it is devastating. It's a disaster to lie upon the Prophet ﷺ or to tell a lie then attribute it to the Prophet ﷺ. He said such person should expect his seat in fire. If you don't know, say I don't know. Ask. إِنَّمَا دَوَاءُ الْعَيِّ السُّؤَالِ. But to suggest that he used to flip the coin, this is such a great lie. May Allah guide us to what's best and ask this person whether it's he or she to repent unto Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Before Islam, Meccan pagans used to fly the bird or draw arrows. Fly a bird or draw arrows. Both are prohibited both in the Quran and the Sunnah. In the Sunnah, the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, لا عدوى ولا طيرة. طيرة is to fly the bird. If somebody wants to make a decision, like you said, that he wants to marry or not, travel or not, invest or not, then he would fly a bird. If it goes right, that's a good sign. Then he's optimistic. If it goes left, then he's pessimistic. And it means no. Do not travel. Do not get married. So the Prophet forbade that, and this is an act of shirk. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, وَأَن تَسْتَقَسِمُوا بِالْأَزْلَامِ. That was also listed among the prohibitions, the great prohibition, which is drawing arrows. If somebody wants to marry or make a decision, he would have 3 arrows. On one or 3 pens or pencils. On one of them would write, go ahead. And on the other would write, do not do it. And the third would be blank. Then he would mix them up and in a quiver and pick up one. If he picked the one which says, do it, go ahead, then he will do it. If he picks the other one, then he would not do it. If he picks the one which is blank, then he will have to redo the whole process again. This is shirk. It's not only disliked or maybe permissible, this is totally shirk. Flipping the coin to make a decision is totally prohibited.
Okay, Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. And believe it or not, we have another Sister Hala from Egypt. Assalamu alaikum, sister. You're live on Ask Huda your questions, please.
Alaikum salam, Sheikh. Sheikh, I have a misunderstanding. And you know, Allah says, لا إكراه في الدين, when the Prophet says, أمرت أن أقاتل الناس حتى يقولوا لا إله إلا الله.
True.
Would you please clarify this?
Okay, sure. I would love to.
There's Sister Hala there from Egypt. Jazakallah khair, Sister Hala. Sister Zahra also mentioned that she visited Somalia and she heard 3 azan for Salatul Fajr. She wants to know if there's any basis in Islam.
No. For Fajr, there is only 2 adhans. And the Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, while in Ramadan, you may eat and drink, and you only stop eating and drinking when you hear the real adhan, the adhan of Ibn Maktoum. So there is an adhan which alerts people for the night prayer, to get up before Fajr, to take suhoor. And the second adhan is the adhan of Fajr, the actual adhan when the dawn really appears. But there is no third, unless if you mean with the third, iqamah.
Okay. And Sister Ruqayya from Nigeria wants to know the ruling on Salat al-Qasr. And she said that she knows the one who travel outside his town for more or less than 3 days shortens his prayer. But she wants to know about the person who lives outside of his hometown.
If any person is constantly traveling, as long as he does not intend nor plan to stay in this place more than 4 days, then he is eligible to pray qasr, to shorten the 4 rak'ahs into 2. And according to the more right view, is also eligible to combine certain prayers at the time of either one of them, such as combining Dhuhr and Asr at the time of either one of them, and Maghrib and Isha at the time of either one of them. Then he is also exempt from praying the related nawafil, except the 2 rak'ahs before Fajr and Rak'atul Witr. So, if you're traveling anywhere, and you did not plan to stay, you have no plan that you're traveling to fulfill some business, and you keep saying, maybe it will finish in 3, 4, 5 days, I'm not sure. So you have not decided, you don't have a round-trip ticket where it says that you're traveling on day so and so, which is more than 4 days. Even if you end up staying in this place a month, 2, 3, that you're still allowed to shorten the prayer. Only once you intend to stay more than 4 days, according to the more right view and the majority of the fuqaha, then in this condition, you should pray as regular, even if you're living in an hotel. Another thing, when do you begin shortening the prayer? Do you do that while at home because your flight is an hour from now? No. You shorten the prayer once you leave the city limit of your own town. Wallahu a'lam.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. Next we have Brother Wali Ahmed from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Assalamu alaikum, brother.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam. Brother, just before you start, can you just turn on your television set, please?
My question is, music is totally prohibited. Why the Islamic channels and TV channels and radio channels are using music in their break time or so many times?
No.
Okay.
We need to ask them this question because it's a fitna and trouble. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to maintain our iman and keep our steadfastness on the straight path. People do change. People follow the doubtful matters, which the Prophet ﷺ have prohibited us from following or adopting or taking. So I guess we need to ask those people.
Next we have Sister Abdullah from Oman. Assalamu alaikum, sister. You're live and ask Huda. Your questions, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum
salam.
I'm very happy to get through this, and I have one question. I'm a cabin crew. I work for an airline.
Okay.
And because of your channel, I'm very lucky that I tried following Islam in a proper way, but I don't have parents to guide me through about Islam, and I watch your channel as much as possible so I can get through Islam.
Alhamdulillah.
And I just want to know, I miss my prayers because my duty is to fly over the world. And I would like to have regular in my prayers. And do I have to say qaza, or I can say my prayers before I go on a flight? How to manage my 5-time prayers in this duty?
Okay. That's Sister Abdullah.
Abdullah, I'd like to tackle your question right now, as I'm obliged to do that because you're asking about the salah, and you said alhamdulillah you're following the channel and you have learned a lot. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide you to what's best, and if you need any assistance at any time, you can contact us directly, and you're most welcome to take our number or email from the control for any urgent need. But if we're talking about the salah, you must have heard so many questions about traveling for a female without mahram, and the rules of hijab and appearing before men. I don't know what kind of task exactly do you do as a waitress maybe, or an attendant, where you serve the guests or the travelers, the passengers. So you need to look into these issues, because it is not permissible for you to travel alone without a mahram. And you said you travel all over the world. So this is one thing which we should not skip and pass by, then talk about the prayer. I guess, by going back to the local shuyukh and asking your relatives and rightly guided people, you will come to a conclusion when you pray 2 rak'ahs by night, you'll come to a conclusion and you'll go to your superiors or the manager and request to work on board in the city where you are at. If you have to work, that is best for you. May Allah guide all of us to what's best. As far as the salah, for any person who's traveling, not necessarily a cabin crew, if a person is traveling, we still have to offer the prayer on time, meaning before its time is out. So if I'm flying and it is already dhuhr time, I may wait until it is before sunset. Then I can pray 2 rak'ahs dhuhr and 2 rak'ahs asr, combine both of them before sunset. So this way, according to where am I right now, if I'm flying over Japan or over Russia, or according to the sunrise and sunset, that will determine. I'm taken off from Cairo, so I pray Fajr in Cairo. Then, my next prayer, if I go to New York City, is, it will be around 3 p.m. for instance. This way, that means I don't have to pray anything while flying. I don't have to pray any prayer. Why? Because I can wait until I land. Then I pray Dhuhr and Asr, Jam'a Ta'khir, postponing, combining both of them to the time of the later prayer, as long as it is before sunset. If I'm flying, for instance, back, and I know that I would, the adhan or the time of Dhuhr have already entered, and I'm flying after Dhuhr, I can pray Dhuhr, and along with it, Asr. This combination will be at the time of the Dhuhr, the earlier one. So this way, I am free until approximately midnight, where I can get to pray Maghrib and Isha before midnight, because that is the latest time for Isha prayer. Wallahu a'lam.
We have Brother Ahmed from Ethiopia. Assalamu alaikum, brother. You're live and ask. What are your questions, please?
Is it possible to greet a non-Muslim with an Islamic greeting? Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
Okay, we got your question.
Okay. That's Brother Ahmed there from Ethiopia. We'll take a short break here on Ask Huda. We'll be back right after this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
The deeds are bound by its intentions. The deeds that we do, we have to have a sincere intentions that we're doing it only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We have the best definitions of things, the right vision, the criteria in which we would get to know what is right and what is wrong through the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The tafsir of the Quran is to explain, is to interpret the best words, the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
To get together, but all their efforts were in vain because of ignoring or turning away from this great foundation. We see many people coming to the way of truth, following the guidance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but later on they get off track. What is the reason behind that? Unity is a result, it's not a cover-up. We have to be united from inside. And Allah made this clear in the Quran when He said, وَأَطِيعُوا اللَّهَ وَأَطِيعُوا الرَّسُولَ.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome back. You're watching Ask Huda. Quick reminder of our telephone numbers 00202 38555 248 or 249. Or you can send us an email at ask, that's ask@huda.tv. We start off this segment with Sister Noor from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Assalamu alaikum, sister. You're live on Ask Huda. Your questions, please.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I have two questions.
Okay.
My first question is that I have heard that Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to draw the names of sahabiyat whenever he had a problem for taking them on the journey.
Okay.
What's about this?
Okay.
And
not the sahabiyat, rather his wives.
Yeah,
okay?
I mean. Yeah,
okay.
Okay.
his wives. And if we perform ablution and then we wear the socks and we do not do anything to nullify our wudu, only we remove the socks, is our wudu nullified? Or we need to perform another wudu, or the wudu remains same?
Okay.
Okay, got it. Sister Noor from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. We have Sister Nushin as well from the United Arab Emirates. Assalamu alaikum, sister. You're live on Ask Huda.
Hello.
Questions, please. Yes, go ahead, sister. Assalamu alaikum, sister.
Okay, brother. I have two questions.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, we're listening.
Is it a bid'ah to invite people to read in a gathering Quran or any surahs, for example, Surah Ikhlas or Surah Fatiha, for invoking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and getting one's prayer answered?
Okay.
Okay.
And your second question?
My second question is, a person working as an insurance salesman and selling life insurance and getting commission on each policy sold, is his earning from this commission is halal or haram? Jazakallahu khair.
Jazakum. With Sister Nushin's questions, I would request the viewers to hold back their calls for now in order to be able to answer the backlog, please.
Okay, and we take our last call, inshallah. Sister Zainab from Nigeria. Assalamu alaikum, sister. You're live and ask your questions, please.
Alaikum assalam.
Go ahead, sister.
Question. I used to work in a bank, and I want to know what the profit I have now means. Am I to give it away, or should I don't know what to do.
Okay.
Because I came across 3 ayahs in Surah Al-Baqarah that destroys everything about bank.
Allahu Akbar.
Okay.
Subhanallah. Jazakumullah khairan, Sister Zainab. Inshallah we'll answer you.
Okay. Sister Zainab there from Nigeria. Beautiful question, mashallah. Maybe you can remember Sheikh, Sister Anne from Egypt. She asked quite an interesting question about Surah Yusuf, in which she said if the king knew anything about the cup being in Yusuf's brother's bag, because he didn't allow him to be imprisoned.
Okay. First of all, let me refer you to the very interesting show of my dear colleague Sheikh Yasser Al-Qadi. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in Surah Yusuf, فَلَمَّا جَهَزَهُمْ بِجَهَازِهِمْ جَعَلَ السِّقَايَةَ فِي رَحْلِ أَخِيهِ ثُمَّ أَذَّنَ مُؤَذِّنٌ أَيَّتُهَا الْعِيرُ إِنَّكُمْ لَسَارِقُونَ. This is how it begins. This whole plan was planned by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because after a few verses Allah Almighty will say, كَذَلِكَ كِدْنَا لِيُوسُف. It was our plan. We inspired him to do that. Why? In order to bring his brother into his territory so that the process will continue. When they finished loading their stuff and food provision, and the brothers, Yusuf brothers now were ready to go back, to sit back to Palestine. He was in Egypt. He sent a caller. Yusuf himself had a cup. It's a golden or a silver cup that belonged to the king. Very, very valuable one. He used to drink in it. He hid it in the belonging and the bag, the duffel bag of Benjamin, his brother, the youngest brother.
Yes.
Then a proclaimer said that the property of the king had been stolen. So his brothers turned around. They did not run away, rather they turned around because they were very confident that they did not commit any theft. They said, لَقَدْ عَلِمْتُمْ مَا جِئْنَا لِنُفْسِدَ فِي الْأَرْضِ وَمَا كُنَّا سَارِقِينَ. You know that we're not here to steal. They said, anyway, that we're going to search the belonging and the baggages of every one of you guys. What will be the consequences if we find it in any of your luggages? Now the caller asked whom? Yusuf brothers. They do not know Yusuf. I don't want to dive in the details of the story. They said, okay, jaza'uhu, what do you find in your sharia? They were following the sharia of Ibrahim alayhi salam. They are children of Yaqub, and they were following the sharia of Ibrahim alayhi salam. The sharia of Ibrahim alayhi salam said that if somebody committed theft, the one who owns the property has the right to own the thief, if the thief is captured. So he said, جزاؤه من وجد في رحله فهو جزاؤه. So Yusuf alayhi salam said, okay, we're going to follow your sharia. We're not going to apply our rules, nor the law of the king in Egypt. Why? Because it just served the purpose perfectly. Now, he searched in the luggages and he dug it out and he took it from the bag of Benjamin. And he said, look, it's in his. Then we're going to apply your sharia, which you suggested. ما كان ليأخذ أخاه في دين الملك إلا أن يشاء الله. It was the plan of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Deen al-Malik does not mean the religion of the king, rather the law or the constitution of Egypt. Rather he accepted the judgment and the sharia of theirs in order to have the right to put his hand on his brother Benjamin, and they don't know, and withhold them in Egypt with him. And now they have to return back empty hands. Yes, they have the food, but they do not have Benjamin. And this is how the story will begin to end, by recognizing that it was their brother, and Yaqub alayhi salam would come back to Egypt and so on.
Okay, and her second question was, she says what's happening right now in Malaysia is that the Malaysian Muslims are protesting that Christians use the name of Allah. And if Muslims truly believe that Muslims, Christians and Jews all worship the same God.
First of all, the word Allah is the personal name of the only God who is worthy of worship. We discussed this before repeatedly. Allah is totally unlike the word God, because God has plural and it has gender. We read and we hear in Christianity and in other religions, God has plural gods. And it has the gender, the feminine goddess. So there is a male and there is a female. The word Allah does not undergo any of that. Rather, Allah means the only true God who is worthy of worship. Then it's the name of only one. Allah is the God of Jews, Christians, Muslims, atheists and disbelievers, and those who worship rats and those who worship cows, whether they like it or not, because He is a creator. Allahu khaliqu kulli shay. Remains for us when some people use the word Allah to describe their God. Especially with Christians, we have to understand that the word Allah have been revealed in the original text of the Gospel to Jesus, peace be upon Him, and to Moses. It was originally revealed in Aramaic, a sister language of Arabic, and it was literally Allah. Another thing which is, whether they believe in Allah as we do or not, they don't, obviously. And that's why after giving a long lecture in the States once, a lady stood up and she said, so now let me ask you this, do you guys think that we are monotheistic or not? I was talking about monotheism. What is the definition of monotheism? So she wanted to talk on me and she said, what do you think that we are monotheistic or not? Obviously they say themselves believers and they believe in one God. And so I turned back the question to her and said, what do you think yourself? After defining monotheism, do you believe in one God or is it more than one God? She was stuck. And the audience were stuck. And the priests were stuck because it is not one God. If you say that you believe in one God, then you don't believe in Christianity. Right? One means one, not three in one. Not more than one. There is no Holy Spirit other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so on. So I said monotheism means to believe in the lordship of only one. And accordingly, no one is worthy of worship but this only one, who is a creator, who is a sustainer, who is worthy of worship, who has certain names and attributes unlike any of the humans, and no one can be characterized by any of His names and attributes. So if I see Christians or Jews, somebody says Allah to their God, it doesn't really mean Allah who is a true God who is worthy of worship. If they call their God whatever, or they call themselves monotheism, but in reality they are not practicing monotheism, they are not monotheistic. But it is worth of mentioning that the word Allah was revealed as is in the original text in the Aramaic language.
Okay. In the last show, Brother Muhammad from the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, he mentioned a hadith in Arabic that goes something like يُوشِكُ أَنْ يَأْتِي عَلَى النَّاسِ زَمَانًا.
زَمَانٌ, no.
Okay.
It's a statement of Al-Imam Ali. It is mawquf, not marfu'. So we cannot attribute it to the Prophet ﷺ. And it is a da'if narration, judged as da'if or weak by Shaykh Al-Albani, may Allah bless him. And it says that يُوشِكُ أَنْ يَأْتِي عَلَى النَّاسِ زَمَانٌ لَا يَبْقَى فِيهِ مِنَ الْإِسْلَامِ إِلَّا اسْمُهُ وَمِنَ الْمُصْحَفِ إِلَّا رَسْمُهُ مَسَاجِدُهُم مَعَامِرَةٌ وَهِيَ خَرَابٌ مِنَ الْهُدَى. It describes the condition of Muslims nowadays, but it is not a hadith. It's a statement of Imam Ali that a time will come where people will maintain of Islam nothing but the name. And we have seen many sects. Qadianis call themselves Muslims. Ismailis claim they're Muslims. Those who accuse the mother of the believers, Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, they still think themselves Muslims and they want to perform pilgrimage. So, لا يبقى من الإسلام إلا اسمه ومن المصحف إلا رسمه. Yes, we have the Mus'haf, we have the Quran. But where the word of Allah has been implemented, where on earth that the Islamic constitution has been applied on the rich and the poor, the strong and the weak, the president and the guard, where? That's a question. مساجدهم عامرة وهي خراب من الهدى, that their masajid are full, but in reality they're empty of guidance because they're only doing what I call it jumping jacks. They're not really learning and benefiting from the prayers, from the religious practices. So it describes the extreme condition of the ummah at the state of weakness and being diverted away from iman, but this is not a hadith that's ascribed to the Prophet ﷺ. Wallahu a'lam.
Brother Khurshid asked, when following the imam in a loud prayer, is it upon the followers to read Surah Fatiha with a loud voice?
According to Al-Jumhur, and according to the sound hadith, one of them is a hadith narrated by Abu Hurairah, may Allah be pleased with him, that reciting Al-Fatiha, Surah Al-Fatiha, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen, is a must, is a pillar in each single rak'ah, whether you are an imam or a follower or praying singular, whether the imam is reciting out loud or reciting in a silent prayer such as Dhuhr and Asr. Now remains for us the mechanism of how to recite Surah Al-Fatiha if the Imam is reciting out loud. If the Imam recited Surah Al-Fatiha and is pausing, and this is not necessarily a pause to recite Surah Al-Fatiha, you can begin reciting Surah Al-Fatiha before he begins reciting the other surah. Even if you're reciting and he began, you still continue to recite Surah Al-Fatiha. Some of the scholars said if the Imam does not give you a chance whatsoever, so he recites immediately, then you're exempt. Wallahu a'lam.
Okay, in his second question, he says that about following one mazhab, because he heard that when you follow one imam, you'll be raised with him on the Day of Judgment.
يَوْمَ نَدْعُ كُلَّ أُنَاسٍ بِإِمَامِهِمْ. It refers to the messengers. This is the verse of the Quran. Every ummah shall follow their leader, their messenger. So the entire Muslim ummah, who are the mainstream of the ummah, would follow Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and amongst his followers will be Abu Hanifa, may Allah be pleased with him, wa Shafi'i, wa Ahmad, wa Malik. Please, 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 brothers and sisters, there is no prejudice in Islam. If those imams were alive today, they would disown those prejudiced people who consider them as prophets, who consider them have their own religions. I said I once attended in a lecture where somebody could not tolerate that it was a comparative fiqh, and the speaker was talking about the various opinions. Somebody jumped, and he was very upset and said that you are insulting my religion. I was amazed, what kind of religion are you talking about? Because all of us are Muslims. He said that you're insulting the Hanafi. So he considers Hanafi is a different religion. This is totally ignorant. Hanafi, Shafi'i, Maliki, or following Ahlul Hadith, or following whatever school of thought, as long as it's stemming from the Quran and the Sunnah, and approved by the mainstream of the Ummah, there is no problem. And as a Ammi, as a common Muslim, that you're not specialized in religion, that you're not studying Sharia in an Islamic institute, and this is your main field, then you're not required to follow a specific madhab. Rather, you would follow your local imam in whatever fatwa he gives you, supporting his fatwa with a document, either from the Quran or the Sunnah. If we have time, I would list so many examples that I have not to follow this Imam in this mas'ala, because I have found out the sound proof with another Imam. So will I still abandon the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ or the Quranic verse and say, but I'm Hanafi, or I'm Shafi'i, or Maliki? Says who that it is permissible to let your hands go in the prayer? You see people praying and they are not crossing hands on the chest. Their hands are down. Why? He said, I am Maliki, following Imam Malik. If you're truly Maliki, you would have known that the Prophet ﷺ used to place the right on the left on the chest. And otherwise was not narrated, nor to put it beneath the navel or wherever. This is the proper position. And we still say, for those who do this or that, their prayer is valid. If we have the same aqidah, the same belief, they have no differences whatsoever concerning belief. That's why we call them the scholars of Ahlul Sunnati wal Jama'ah, the mainstream of the Ummah. They maintain the articles of faith of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, especially with regards to His names and attributes, without nullification, without blocking any of them from being effective, without giving different interpretation other than what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself gave, or resembling or likening His traits to humans or humans to His, etc., 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 then they are from Ahlul Sunnah al Jama'ah. They are all our Imams and leaders. So if you follow Imam Abu Hanifa in this mas'ala, because his view is more sound, for instance, concerning paying zakat dues on the jewelry, I consider Imam Abu Hanifa's view is more sound, even though the vast majority of the fuqaha, including Al-Shafi'i wa Malik wa Ahmad, have a different view. But I give fatwa according to Imam Abu Hanifa. So if you are an ordinary person, you are not a scholar, you are not specialized in fiqh, it will be sufficient for you to take the fatwa which is supported with document. As far as the Imam which you are referring to, the ayah is referring to the prophets.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. And Sister Ruqayya from Nigeria, her second question was, can women pray with a loud voice like men?
If they pray amongst women, if an Imam of them is a woman, yes, she may recite in a loud voice to be heard if she is not surrounded or heard by men. If a woman is praying tahajjud, qiyamul layl on her own, she can recite with a heard voice. It is not out loud, because that's the same for a man. It is not very out loud, rather in a way that she can hear herself in order to ponder and reflect on her recitation. That is permissible.
Okay, and Brother Sayyid from Qatar, he says, when the khatib, during the khutbah al-Jum'ah, he takes a rest between the two khutbahs. Is it permissible to make dua during this period?
Well, there is a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ has said that there is one sa'a. Sa'a refers to time. It doesn't necessarily mean, as in Arabic, 60 minutes. One time. Sometime during Friday, during this time, during this sa'a, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala answers the dua. Some of the scholars try to speculate and think, when could it be? After Fajr, after Asr, before Maghrib, whatever. The best of all of those views are, or is, that whenever the Imam sits on the minbar and says, Assalamu alaikum, this is a time during the khutbah, where many people make sure that they would not attend. Rather, they would come directly to the prayer, or hang around either to smoke, or to chat, or to answer phone calls until it is Iqamah and they enter to pray the Jummah. This is the best time, and that's why between the two khutbahs, it's a very, very virtuous time, and it has a great merit. So still also recommended to make dua during this time, but not in congregation, just simply while you are in your seat.
Okay, and Brother Ahmed from the UK, he's also asking a question about Salat al-Jum'ah. He said, what is the least amount of people that can perform Salat al-Jum'ah? Because he said, like a small group of Muslims working in the Western countries, and the masjid is very far away.
There are various opinions. Some say 40, some say more, some say less. But when I examine all those views and opinions, I found there is no solid reference. Rather, it is a regular prayer. So, if we have an imam, a khatib, would give the khutbah. And by the way, the khutbah doesn't have to be a speech delivered by the sheikh like the haram. But if somebody climbs the member, or if there is no member and you stand at work or at the school, high schools in America or colleges, we tell the students, gather, and they appointed rooms for them, and one of them would give khutbatul haja, would praise Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, would recite the verse and send the peace and salutation upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is a khutbah. Then lead the prayer. This is Jum'ah. So if we have an imam, a khatib, and a mu'adhin, want to call the adhan, and a third person, you should establish Salatul Jum'ah if you're not around any big masjid which establishes Jum'ah prayer. So if you are in the West, if you are in a school, if you are at work, if you are somewhere where you're not a traveler, because you're exempt from Jum'ah if you're traveling, okay? And you're only 3 people, as little as 3 people, then you should still establish the Jum'ah prayer. I know of people who've been living for decades in Europe and in the States, in some remote areas, they don't pray Jum'ah. Why? Because there is no nearby masjid. The nearest masjid, Sheikh, we have to drive for an hour or an hour and a half. Okay, and how many of you are in town? We're only 50 people. 50 people, you should establish Jum'ah. In the garage of any of your houses, in the parking lot, anywhere, rent a room in a hotel or in a shopping plaza, and establish Salatul Jum'ah. As I said, the minimum is at least 3. Wallahu a'lam.
Jazakallah khair, Shaykh. We are out of time, and I would like to say a special Jazakallah khair for you to spend all this time with us, Shaykh, and to answer all our questions. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continue to bless you, inshaAllah. To all the viewers, just a quick reminder, if you have any more questions, you can send it to ask, that's ask@huda.tv. And for those of the viewers who have been supporting us, we'd like to say special Jazakallah khair to all of those who have been really helping us out here at Huda TV, and all of those who would like to, you can send us an email at support@huda.tv. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
If my love is attached to thee, then from sins I will be free. Each time my heart will beat, your name will resound with heat. Allah is my heart's speech, your mercy is what I beseech. Keep in my heart your remembrance, and in your deen allow me to advance. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest, permit me to pass the ultimate test. Help me in my quest.